Hello there. My name is Julia, and I wanted to share my experience in rural Honduras with you because when I went to research before my trip, there were no English language videos for me to learn from. So I think there might be other people out there in the same situation. And I will start off by saying that I went to Honduras in July 2024. I had a farmer to farmer assignment as a beekeeper, and it was winter. It was winter when I visited, and I visited three cities. I visited Cucuyagua, Quimistan, and San Pedro Sula. So let's start with Cucuyagua. Cucuyagua and Quimistan are both in the western part of the country, and Cucuyagua is about 16,000 people. So when I visited, the highs were never above 90 degrees Fahrenheit. It was very pleasant. It was very sunny. Rain came usually at nighttime, but there was definitely every day it was there. There was going to be rain while I was in Honduras, and I will confirm it seemed like everything was very green, but believe me, it was winter. When we opened up the beehives, the bees were starving. Now, since I was there on farmer to farmer assignment, that means that I had weekends to myself. So I could use the time in the afternoon when we were done working and on the weekend to go walk around and explore. And it was very pleasant. In general, I felt fairly safe if it was sunny out. Um, it was nice to see different plants than what I have back home. I'm from Iowa, so it was just a really nice diversion. So I do want to talk about the roadways because being in a rural area, just like being back home, there's not a lot of alternate routes for you to take. So in general, the highways were concrete, very good condition because they can do maintenance all year round as opposed to Iowa where everything stops. Um, because we have winter, so we can only have road construction when it's warm out. Um, it can happen all the time in Honduras, except, um, it's not, if it's not a highway, if it's mountain or in the town, you're going to have a big wide variety that you experience like I did. We had dirt, gravel, various mixtures of concrete, asphalt, and gravel wherever we were because there are mountains and a lot of weather. You might have flooding. We definitely experienced that. There were some places that were washed away. There were some places that rocks had fallen like an avalanche. So again, the alternate routes are sometimes really far out of the way and not direct. But that's just kind of the way life is. Um, again, whether you live here in Iowa or down in Honduras, that you just work with what you have. So I will say Google Maps was pretty accurate. If I needed to consult just to kind of estimate the amount of time that we were going to take in transportation. And usually there's only one lane for both directions. So if there is construction, your direction might have to wait for all the traffic going the other way to take its turn before you get to have your turn. So for me to go from Cucuyagua to the next town in Quimistan, it's normally 2 hours when there's not road construction. However, we did have construction while I was there, so it was a 4 hour trip instead. And speaking of Kimistan, it was definitely a hotter town. It's a little farther south than Cucuyagua. I could feel it. It was about 6,000 people in population there. And it was here that I discovered that the stores are generally the same as what I would find back home, except for feminine products. So, women, listen up, or men, if you're doing the research for some women on your trip, please let them know that there are pharmacies and grocery stores where you can find pads, but no tampons. I ended up finding one option out of a big, huge shelf, and you'll be able to see that in the photo here. I don't know why that is, if people just aren't used to having options or there's some cultural thing going on, but I would say pack your own if you think you're going to have a period while you're gone. Feminine products do not weigh very much. They don't take up very much space. So that's my word to you. Um, The other thing about being in a smaller town like Kimistan is that generally there are no sidewalks, which really isn't different from rural Iowa. If you don't live in town, I grew up in an incorporated area. There was no town, so that wasn't unusual to me. But we are sharing the road with um, mopeds and cars and big semis. If there's potholes, people are going to go around the pothole. You might, really need to increase your awareness of where you're walking and everything around you. But it's not that hard. Um, I will also say that it is a beautiful place to visit. If you end up going to Honduras, I went to Pulha, beautiful waterfall. Um, I think is probably a better visit if you go with some time in a group so you can do some of the activities. They have zip lines, etc., restaurants, so you can just hang out and picnic there if you like. It is very nice. Um, I also flew in and out of San Pedro Sula, so I thought I'd talk a little bit about San Pedro Sula, which has a population of about 701,000 people. It was really hot. That's something that you just can't really get around when you have a lot of concrete. It's going to be hot. Um, but overall, I had a really nice time in Honduras. The people, very happy. Um, the electrical outlets are the same. Again, traffic, you drive the same. You're on the right hand side of the road. I will say that there was a lot of noise, which I think is because of the building materials that they use. Cinder blocks without a lot of insulation, um, being near or nearby structures, not having a lot of space between structures, and you also have a lot of smells. I really noticed there's a lot of home cooking outside, and it would be kind of like if you were walking through a neighborhood here in Iowa and it was summer and everybody was out in their backyards doing uh, a barbecue on the grill. It was kind of the same thing there. And then two more things before I end this video that I think were really helpful. The first was that Google Translate is a lifesaver. You can use it, it's very flexible. Signs, menus, speaking, typing. I can't recommend it enough because there were very few English speakers where I was visiting. Um, so the last thing is that business is done in Lempira, and Lempira is like quarters. It's 25 Lempira to $1. So it wasn't very hard to do business there. And I will also say, though, you don't get cash back at the register, and the ATMs are somewhat unreliable. Even for the staff who lived in Honduras, they were not able to get the ATMs to consistently work. So those are my experiences in Honduras. I would love to hear from anyone watching this, what your experience has been. If you have questions about farmer to farmer, I would also love to answer those as well.